The stole that I'm wearing was made in Transylvania, where we have a long and lovely, beautiful and proud Unitarian history, and therefore an important connection. We have a partner church in Transylvania that you'll be hearing more about this month. Some of our pilgrims went to renew and reestablish our ties with our friends in Kemenfava, Transylvania this summer. You'll be hearing more about that trip on October 19th. But this month, as we take an offering also always for the ministries and the programs and the maintenance of our church, we also send out some of our life force in the form of love and financial help to outreach ministries, the partner church of which is one. So our partner church split offering this month will go to help students there with their educational expenses. The morning offering is most gratefully received. Spend a year at least addressing the themes of Yom Kippur and the High Holy Days. So much there. The Day of Atonement. And so the idea is this. Once a year, you go to the people you have harmed, and you make amends with them. This is the way in the Jewish community and the Jewish faith. You are written in the book of life for the new year, which was observed on September 25th this year. Rosh Hashanah is the new year. You all go out, kind of like spiritual trick-or-treating, but definitely without the masks. And you try to make it right with each other, whatever is wrong. Some years ago, I asked a rabbi friend if this really worked. Do people really go out in your community and make Yom Kippur appointments or, visit or even just make a phone call to talk about things? And he laughed a little bit and said, oh, no, they don't. They totally don't, because it's too scary. They're all afraid they might get their heads bitten off. And I thought, oh, yes, of course they are. That's human nature too, right there. I thought of that last night. I saw someone had posted on Facebook, if I have wronged you, please forgive me. May we be inscribed for a healthy, happy, and please God, easier year. And I thought, well, okay, that's one way to fulfill the Yom Kippur commandment, sort of a blanket, Facebook post. I don't think that really addresses the intimacy that Yom Kippur practice is meant to encourage, but maybe this person was afraid of getting her head bitten off if she went to specific people and made more specific pleas for forgiveness. I don't know. It's, again, very likely, and she tried. Maybe it will open some conversations. The Jewish tradition has been around for thousands of years, and I wonder if at any point in that long history, any person over maybe the age of 10 or so could honestly say, oh, you know what? It's Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. I'm good with everybody. This doesn't apply to me. I can just skip this one. So that for me is very comforting, because it means, oh God, it's not just me who's carrying around a concern in the back of my mind of some unresolved conflict with someone. It's a community reality. To be in conflict with someone else is something we share, almost all of us. And I love the fact that in the Jewish tradition, there's a community commitment to resolve that conflict. I like it also because then it doesn't feel weird or out of the blue when someone calls you and contacts you and says, hey, I want to ask your forgiveness for hurting you. I do think that if that request came out of nowhere, it might be very uncomfortable. And you might ask, well, why are you coming to me now? Like, what's in it for you? I mean, I'm just wondering. Why are you bringing this up now? So, of course, if you're in the Jewish community, somebody might say, well, it's Yom Kippur. This is when we do this. And then I'm continuing this imaginary conversation, in my mind, and I'm hearing this other person say, well, if I can't hate you anymore because you're showing this really decent and thoughtful side of yourself, then what relationship do you think we can have? Well, I don't know, says the other person. Just not that one where you hate me and I'm guilty and, we're tied in that terrible conflict. We'll find out. Maybe we won't have any relationship, but maybe you can let me go. Most of us in this room have that invisible tether, that bondage between us and someone with whom we are not in right relation. We may believe that eventually some resolution is possible for that relationship, or maybe we don't. Maybe we are legitimately afraid for our safety or well-being if we try to reach out to someone or let them reach out to us, someone who's proven again and again to be too abusive or unstable to be in relationship with. And I don't mean just physical danger. I really mean emotional harm and danger and psychic danger. That is a very real threat to our well-being. There is no Jewish commandment and no Unitarian Universalist spiritual teaching that says that we must keep returning to harmful relationships to be hurt again and again. What Yom Kippur can do, though, is to open a door for us to consider those relationships which maybe just might have some hope for them. And if not, they can be let go so that they can harm no more. But every year it comes around and you can maybe have a little more distance and space to see that relationship and think, maybe there's hope or maybe not. Anger and resentment bind us as intimately to the object of our anger as does romantic love. To be furious at someone and resent them is to drag them around as though they were tied to your thigh by a psychic bungee cord. Not only do you know this if you have carried anger towards someone for any length of time and known how exhausting and depleting it is, You may feel it if you have been tethered to someone who won't release you from that bungee cord. Even if that anger is not mutual and you have no hard feelings toward them. Like it or not, anger and resentment are part of the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, and they affect our ecosystem. The very earth suffers from ancient, unreconciled enmities. Children die from it every day. Reconciliation is not a Hallmark card kind of event. It's intricate and challenging and requires a lot of courage, where genuine curiosity about another's perspective and a desire for what's possible overcome our ego needs to be right or to have our version of reality validated over someone else's. Reconciliation is an event or an act that begins with spiritual generosity, where we make room in our minds and hearts for the other. It's actually not an event. What it is a journey. As we begin the month of October together here at UUCGL, our ministry theme for the month is the journey. In worship and in children's religious education and adult programming, we are going to reflect in various ways on the journey of life that we're all on, that process of becoming, struggling along the path of moving on through one day and the next, and on through history and on from life to death. The journey as our life work from isolation and self-righteousness to community ethic and humility. The Jewish holiday, holy day of Yom Kippur is a time set aside for the journey from estrangement or conflict to reconciliation or forgiveness. And I am choosing to focus more on reconciliation than forgiveness in these reflections this morning, because I'm really well aware of the ways that many of you have been spiritually abused by being advised or admonished to forgive your enemies, especially directed to do that by religious figures who are oversimplifying complex moral teachings and possibly not listening to and honoring your specific circumstances. You may be familiar with this passage from the Gospel of Matthew. Then Peter came and said to Jesus, "Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Up to 7 times?" Jesus said to him, "I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. Now, if you take that teaching out as a saying of Jesus, outside of its context, outside of Jesus's other teachings about justice and equity and how to be an ethical community, it's all about asking something incredibly generous of people who are being treated badly and abused. So do you all know what proof texting is? That's a term I think every religious liberal should know. Proof texting is when you take like a favorite phrase or one saying out of the Bible and you just sort of pluck it out of its context and throw it at somebody as proof to validate your opinion. Okay, so that's a really dangerous practice, and I believe that this teaching from the Gospel of Matthew that Jesus says forgive 70 times 7, or 7 times 70, is a proof text. It's often used, and it's kind of given to people when they have pain and abuse in their life, and sometimes a priest or a minister will say, we have to forgive again and again and again and again and again, and this perpetuates abuse. And this perpetuates cycles of injustice. Forgiveness has been counseled to too many people as a way to maintain social order. It's been used to protect abusers in institutions and in marriages and in community churches, etc. Forgiveness is a private journey, I think, that can only progress as someone's heart starts to achieve a kind of rest and resolution over a situation or relationship that has hurt them. And usually, only after they feel that some justice has been served. I never counsel forgiveness to people, but I ask them sometimes, hey, do you feel that you are anywhere on that path to forgiveness? I hope you are. I'm just checking. Forgiveness has often been recommended to people who were never apologized to by the people that harmed them, which is unjust and sometimes impossible, as the person who harmed them is deceased. One of the great virtues of Yom Kippur practice is that it does not require people to forgive anyone who has not come to them to ask forgiveness. A rabbi in Canton, Massachusetts in 2009 told his congregation that Bernie Madoff could never be forgiven because there wasn't time. There wasn't time, in other words, for Bernie Madoff to go to each person he had harmed and to make amends with them. And that is a really profound statement about how accountability and justice figure into the Jewish ethical framework of forgiveness. I have never forgotten that. I'm always amazed by the strength and the faith of people like the parents of Michael Brown, who was killed in Ferguson, Missouri, who speak of wanting to move forward toward forgiveness, even as they know justice may never be done for their child. The truth may never be known or told. Their witness is a reminder to me that forgiveness is one of the ways in which historically oppressed communities and individuals have chosen the path of forgiveness as a way to morally transcend their oppressors and to reclaim a position of dignity after yet another victimization, insult, or abuse. That's powerful, and it requires incredible soul strength and faith. Of course, in most cases, there isn't one victim and one oppressor. Things are more complicated than that, and everyone shares some portion of the responsibility for broken relationships. Yom Kippur is a holy day on which we may reflect on the ways our personality, our prejudices, our wounds, and our weirdness contribute to broken relationships in our lives. That reflection on self-forgiveness. It is the most serious of the holy days in the Jewish year. And since you're fasting on that day, you don't have the distraction and comfort of food. Most of us experience the opportunity for reconciliation within the context of family, with its complicated web of kinship loyalty, animosities built over many years, secret keeping and dysfunctional habits that rise out of those secrets, and deeply mixed emotions about whether or not we can afford to be in relationship with these people with whom we share a history and some genetic material. I want to say as your pastor that I believe that there are absolutely circumstances under which I would not blame you for severing some ties with family members and would support you in reaching some resolutions and reconciliation within yourself about those relationships outside of your family structure, which may constantly counsel you and, in fact, kind of try to coerce you. Forgive already, get over it, let's move on. Just don't keep bringing that up. In other cases, it's helpful to explore ways that we can reconcile without sacrificing our own sense of safety, dignity, or privacy to the demands of kinship loyalty. Setting good boundaries is one of the ways we can do that. I talked to a friend of mine, Amy, the other night, and she gave me her permission to tell you this story. I learned that her brother Christopher had died suddenly about a month ago. Amy and Crumpy, was his nickname, did not have an easy relationship. They didn't talk often. They didn't really get along. I believe they went for quite a long time without speaking. But then Crumpy got in touch with Amy because he had to sell his house. He had some financial issues, and he needed some place to stay. So where do you go? Right? You call family. Family obligations are very tricky when it comes to right relation because there are so many family codes about what everyone owes each other because of blood kinship ties. What Amy did with her estranged brother was to welcome him into her home, extend hospitality, but for a limited period of time. That was not something that, he had hoped. She was under the very strong impression that he'd hoped to kind of settle in there. But after a period of time that felt fair to her and manageable, she spoke to Christopher and she said, "Hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to help you look for a place of your own." Being able to be clear and honest and set appropriate boundaries with her brother allowed Amy to reconnect with him in a way that felt like it was emotionally manageable. You notice that she did not permit guilt or family scripts of obligation persuade her to welcome him as a permanent roommate in the home that she shares with her husband and another brother. There's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi that says, "A no uttered from the deepest conviction is better and greater than a yes merely uttered to please, or what is worse, to avoid trouble." Christopher respected her decision. So what they did is they met in the middle of obligation. They met in the middle to create a space for fairness of each and respect for each other's needs and feelings. Not long after this, Christopher died suddenly of a massive stroke. And Amy said to me, I am really glad that I wasn't left holding on to our unresolved, uncomfortable, estranged relationship by myself. We got some measure of connection back that we could both manage. Reconciliation is a journey whose first step is curiosity and openness to what might be. It is not a steady, clear path to a field filled with flowers and sunshine, because human relationships are too complicated for that. Although, in fact, miracles happen, and sometimes that flower-filled field does appear, and both hurt souls rest in delighted and relieved company there together. This I wish for you, that rest and peace with those you desire to have in your life. But this also I wish, that we respect and support each other along that journey from isolation and resentment, whatever its source, that we respect each other and support each other in speaking our truth, asking for what we need in relationships, and receiving with as much graciousness as we can those who approach us to ask for forgiveness. For when we all get more comfortable both asking for and offering and working our way toward reconciliation and forgiveness, we may journey together from hurt to wholeness. May we be written in the book of life for a blessed year. L'Shana Tova. Amen.
Our hymn to close the service today is number 295. Sing out praises for the journey.
These words of commission from the Sufi Bayazid, who said this about himself: I was a revolutionary when I was young, and all my prayer to God was, Lord, give me the energy to change the world. As I approached middle age and realized that half of my life was gone without my changing a single soul, I changed my prayer to, Lord, give me the grace to change all those who come into contact with me, just my family and friends, and I shall be satisfied. Now that I am an old man and my days are numbered, my own prayer is, Lord, give me the grace to change myself. If I had prayed for this right from the start, I should not have wasted my life.